Dungeons and Dragons, a favorite game of mine. You guys know that I not only hosted several campaigns with other YouTubers, but I also had the pleasure of playing with other YouTubers. So it was very depressing when I saw that the Grand Wizards of the Coast released their newest update to the game, and instead of actually seeing new traits, new features, new spells, cool new game mechanics, it was all about sanitizing the game, removing stuff from the game. And the reason they did this is because, voila, it's exactly what you see on the screen. They did this in order to have the mainstream media congratulate them of being excellent people. They did it for the clout. Because that's what it means to be a progressive company. Your product can suck. It doesn't matter if the people like it or not. The journalist needs to like it. The journalist is now the customer, even though he doesn't pay. He's probably the stakeholder. Yes, stakeholder capitalism. This is what it is. Put on a shitty product. Doesn't matter if people are unhappy. The press will like it. So, what I find interesting is that when you don't like a movie, you don't like Star Wars, and or you don't like female Ghostbusters, and you're saying it's shit, you're going to have the professional fart sniffer going, oh, you don't understand. Movies are subjective. They are subjective. You can't say it's bad because it's subjective. But when the press writes an article like, this is what the game does better, this is why it's better, oh, now it's objective. And if you don't like it, it's a small fringe minority that don't. So when the press writes articles, it's objective. When you have opinions as a customer, it's subjective. So let's see why the game is better. And by the way, I wouldn't say that it's better, like 5 edition than 3.5. 3.5, for those of you who don't know, is indeed a little bit more technical. But at the end of the day, it allows you to do more things than you can do in 5 edition. So it's difficult to learn, but once you learn it, it offers more freedom and more stuff than the 5 edition. So at the end of the day, this is actually subjective. It depends on the type of player you are. Like if you're a beginner, you might like 5e. But once you master 5e, 3.5 looks like an upgrade because it allows you to do more stuff. So let's see what they have to say. The first one, it's more approachable. And again, this is not necessarily better. Just because something is approachable doesn't make it better. For example, tic-tac-toe is more approachable than Dungeons and Dragons. That doesn't make it better. Ridiculous. Now, it is a good stepping stone, but that's it. It's not better. Then they're talking about other objective things. Like this is objective, okay? Higher quality assurance. I mean, when you buy a book, it needs to be polished. The pages don't need to have their ink coming out of them. I agree with this point. When they're right, they're right. Far fewer deliberately bad options. Early school design for 3.5 was the Ivory Tower design. Which compared the character building to deck building to a card game like Magic the Gathering, and the books were filled with options, many of which were weaker by design in order to reward players who knew not to take them and punish those who fell for them. So again, it depends on the type of player. If you're the type of player that enjoys the game, and you're actually spending time playing the game, and you're spending money on Grand Wizards of the Coast merchandise, then you're probably going to like creating a character that's min-max so that you can impress your friends with it. So you want a game like 3.5 that has a lot more options and a lot more stuff that's cool, and you like to experiment and figure out what is good and what isn't. If you're a video game journalist who literally hates video games and doesn't have time for them, you don't want that nonsense. No, you want something streamlined. If possible, Grand Wizards of the Coast should create the character for you. That's what you want. But all in all, I mean, there are some people legitimately, like, if I want to teach my wife how to play Dungeons and Dragons, okay, 5 edition is better for her, but it's not better, period. What type of player are you appealing towards? And I think, like, a better game would be one that's easy to learn but difficult to master. So a game that would be appealing to both new players and veterans who want to invest more time and buy Grand Wizard of the Coast merchandise. How you can pull that off, that's not my business. Okay? I'm not the company, I'm the customer. You pull it off, I'll buy it. But at this point, you just made a product that's appealing for a different target demographic, a different subsection of Dungeons and Dragons players. Then they talk about playing is quicker because the character building in 3.5 takes a lot of time. And get the fuck out. Same problem. Less disparity between casters and marshals. This is actually something that I agree with. When you play a wizard or a spellcaster, you get access to spells at higher levels, which can literally shape reality. And when you're playing a warrior, it's not as fun. Right? So in 5th edition, that gap is bridged a little bit closer. Now, with that said, if you play a spellcaster, at the first few levels of the game, you suck. I mean, you can die from a single arrow that hits you. But if you manage to make it through, then eventually you become a lot stronger than the fighter. So it's kind of like, when do you want to shine? Do you want to shine early game? Do you want to shine late game? And that's how you play classes. It's a way of doing things I'm not a big fan of. I do prefer, like most classes, being close to power, and so that everyone at the table can have fun. Removal of racial penalties, not a big fan. Again, like removal of things. This is what they keep doing, sanitizing the game by removing things. As if the game isn't perfect, but if you keep removing things from it, it becomes perfect. No, I personally enjoy the aspect that, for example, you can play a orc and you get a bonus to strength, but you get a minus to intelligence. What's wrong with that? Why is that a bad thing? It adds for greater role-playing. Or, for example, if you play a halfling, you can go through smaller crawling spaces, you can mount a raptor because it's a medium-sized mount and you're a smaller creature. Things that an orc can't do. And I like that. Again, it creates drama. It's interesting. You have a party of adventurers, level 1. There's a small cave, a small crevice. Only the halfling can go, but the halfling isn't the fighter. Does he risk it? I like this thing, right? And then the penalties. It's interesting to make a orc wizard. Like, no one wants a orc wizard, but you put that penalty onto you because it's fun to roleplay. Everyone gets shocked. It's like, oh my god, the wizard is an orc? But okay, we removed that from the game because, again, game journalists don't like too much in-depth things. And this is the one that I hate the most, right? This is the one that's the most subjective, more sensitively written. Notice that the community didn't desire for sensitively written stuff. It's consistent that the community was supporting the company. It's not like a drop all of a sudden because they were not happy with the way orcs were represented. No, it's because the game journalists changed. And gaming companies, they care more about game journalists now than they care about their own customers. And the publications decided to hire a lot of people from the gender studies department who care more about socialism and social issues than the actual quality of the game. And in order to please these people, you have to make your game more sensitively written. In other words, remove everything that's edgy, fun, remove the difference between the races, make it everything like a beige. And we talked about this. It's the Captain Picard way of writing fantasy now. All the races, they act like humans. There's no difference between the Vulcans and the humans and the Borg. They're all the same. They act the same. They have a potty mouth. They talk dirty. There's no racial difference because if there was, then that would be racismus, and we can't have racismus in Dungeons and Dragons, heaven forbid. Racismus is only in the United States, and it's systemic, but not in Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is pure, it's anti-racismus. Right. I hope they're happy. I hope the Grand Wizards of the Coast are happy. They got their little article in the newspaper. CBR.com wrote a great piece. Mission accomplished. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.